you know, every once in a while, I still get a little bit upset, angry, thinking that our ownership just, Mike Brown and the family needs to do a little bit better by the Bengals and by the fans and by the players and the personnel. And then Jerry Jones says, "Hold my beer." This guy. Holy cow, man.
Hold my
Yeah.
beer, watch this.
I mean, what could they have possibly gotten from Micah Parsons to make this a trade you'd want to do? Justin, how much you got to get for Micah Parsons at 26 years old to do this deal? What do you need?
You would honestly have to see something like what we saw from Terrell Owens in 2004, 2005, during that period with the Eagles. Guy that's playing in the peak of his prime, arguably the best player in the game. And, there was just a lot of chaotic off the field noise that was just separating the locker room. You would have had to got some stuff that was that level and that caliber. And I like T.O., and I don't think that I think he got misconstrued with his character and his reputation even back then. But Micah Parsons was nowhere close to that. And we in the age of social media, and I feel like that the Cowboys really are the dumpster fire in this situation, just because like you got a premier guy such as Micah, a premier dude who actually embodied wearing the star on his helmet. And man, I just feel like that the organization truly just disrespecting him. Now, obviously, coming from a Bengals fan, we know the stigma that Mike Brown in the front office gets. But man, the Cowboys, they're nothing to scoff at, man, when it comes to these things. And I think that for the longest time, they've been flying under the radar when it comes to the unnecessary noise. And this just adds into the laundry list of things that Jerry Jones really just kind of put out there. It's just,
I mean, but what kind of haul do you need to make this okay in your world? Like, this has got to be like a Herschel Walker trade package, right?
So not the same thing as Herschel Walker. I think that even that polarizing trade, even back then in 1990 or whatever they got that year that even happened, I think that you're never going to see something like that again, just because it was just so monumental and impactful that they don't want to see the ultimate train robber like that. Now we've seen some that's like, really? Dang,
It's got to be multiple ones.
They got multiple ones, multiple twos, three. They got so many different. Like I think they got a total of 6 high.
I'm saying for picks. Micah Parsons, it's got to be multiple ones.
For Micah Parsons, though, I think that the haul would be a couple of picks for next year. Obviously, one will be in the first rounder and the second rounder, and then the following year, the first rounder and maybe a fourth rounder. But you know what? I think that the compensation, this might be an unpopular opinion. So the deal was what? 2 first-round picks plus Kenny Clark, the 3-time Pro Bowler. I think that was a pretty good, decent trade. And the thing is, the Cowboys still got to make sure that the Packers are willing to pay him that salary. So I think that if you line up the fact that the Packers still had a pay for this dude.
There were multiple people interested.
Yeah.
The contract's $188 million, 47 a year.
47 a year.
120 guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I have to get I can't wait to see what the actual trade was. I have not seen that for sure come through yet.
Other than
this has to be big, man. You can't let him go. So
yeah,
you gave him to the Packers too. So you gave him to a team that's not going to be picking in the top half of the first round.
Facts,
right?
Yeah.
So you gotta replace Micah Parsons with 2 first-round picks. One of those 2 has to be a replacement for Micah Parsons.
But here's the thing, though, too. While you understand that, Micah Parsons, I don't even think I think that they were very fortunate to land a guy like Micah Parsons to begin with during that draft. They needed corners during that draft period, and nobody thought that they were going to get a guy like Micah in the first round. They just drafted him. He panned out. He exceeded expectations, and here we are now. But I think that this is going to be the trade of the decade. I kind of posted that out there on Twitter that this is going to be that trade, because you don't really see a guy who's in the peak of his prime, cornerstone caliber player. It's damn near like you trading away a franchise quarterback that's in the midst of their prime to another team, especially within the same conference. That's basically Micah Parsons. Dude, he's got a quarterback's led salary. Okay. Trading Dak is whatever, bro. Like, we like Dak, but I think a lot of people are just, he's fringe top 10.
So they're
Mike
not
Parsons is unquestioned one of the best defensive players in the game, top 5, like no question about it. And he's a cornerstone franchise guy that can help elevate the totality of the league for real. And you trade that guy away, it feels a lot like the Reggie White situation back in the day when Green Bay got Reggie White. That's what I compare it to.
Yep.
And
that's what I was going to mention. That's what I was going to mention as well.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Tim,
we're in some crazy times right now.
Is there a haul big enough for you in this trade package for you to justify this trade?
Oh yeah, he's 26 years old. He's not a 30-year-old, 31-year-old, Garrett, Miles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson, he's Micah Parsons. We've seen what he's been doing since he was drafted in 2021. Micah Parsons, he comes from linebacker, edge rusher, out of Penn State.
Mary Edwards said they tripped over the bleep.
Yeah, but I was amazed by the pick. It was a huge trade. 2 first-rounders plus Kenny Clark. Kenny Clark was that anchor.
Is that officially what it is? It's just those 3 pieces?
It's 2 picks and a player.
Yeah, Kenny Clark, their anchor of their defensive line for the Packers. And they don't have TJ Slayton no more because he's a Cincinnati Bengal.
Yeah, but you talk about pass rush, though. You're still putting, now you're still putting Micah Parsons out there with Rashawn Gary. That's gonna get up the field.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's gonna be. I think they not only improved their pass rush, but I would have if we had that opportunity, of course. But my biggest part is they paid him $47 million a year. That dude, he's laughing to the bank because the Cowboys are a bunch of freaking idiots. Jerry Jones is an idiot. Jerry Jones needs to step away from the GM. Hold on, Jerry Jones.
How far off they were.
Jerry Jones needs to step away from being a GM and get his ass up in the front office and front office only. And everybody, hold on, let me finish real quick. But everybody says how bad the Cincinnati Bengals front office is. This was a major, major flop for the Cowboys because right now the season begins in 10 days and the Cowboys do not have an elite pass rusher out there on their defensive line no more. They should, if they were going to trade Micah away, they should have did this before the draft, got the first rounders and got somebody in that first round of that draft of last year, or 2025 draft. But I think the Packers, this Packers team, this Packers front office did an absolute wonderful job. Even though they gave away their first rounders, and like you said, first rounders, okay, but the Packers aren't going to be picking until later on in the draft anyways because they're going to be making the playoffs. And
you got to think they're going to be picking 20 or later.
Yep,
pretty
definitely.
Easily, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So great trade
for Green
Bay. What I was going to add to kind of round it out. When I was going to add to it to kind of round this whole thing out because we ain't even got to the intro yet, is that it seemed like that the whole colossal mistake was made because it seems like it's been reported. Again, I don't want to assume because obviously these are rumors, but Jerry Jones was trying to negotiate the contract for Micah Parsons without his agent present. We all know now his agent is Dave Maltagella, and Micah Parsons had made it publicly known throughout the whole coming months that he wanted his agency involved when it came to this kind of deal. But the front office of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones more specifically, he was trying to negotiate and give him a salary, but it was going to be like something around like a 5-year over $200 million, almost similar to like what he kind of signed this time around. But that the dollar signs was not going to be that deep. It was going to be something where it's like the Cowboys front office are going to find a way to get out of it after a certain amount of time. And it was without the agency of Micah Parsons present to actually be in the know of this kind of stuff. And then that happened apparently back in March. And when it failed, when talks fell through, they haven't even picked it back up again. And then that's why Micah Parsons is on this circus, rightfully so, because he should have been in the conversation and his agent should have been there. So, like I said, man, we've all kind of like really pointed the finger at the Cowboys on this one. it's not necessarily maybe the Cowboys, it's Jerry Jones for the most part, because
But
it's
he
just
is the
really,
Cowboys.
it's really a cataclysmic situation when you think about it overall, man. And I wouldn't want to be in their shoes, anybody, bro. Like, they have set themselves up for a future with a couple of first round picks for next year and the year after, whatever.
Mhm.
But if you're the Green Bay Packers in that situation, you got to strike this year when the iron's hot. You got Micah Parsons for 4 years in his prime. This is not normal. Yes, it is a sacrificial lamb to give up 2 first round picks plus a Pro Bowl player yourself. But they had really no cornerstone player on defense anyway. They already gave up Jair Alexander and cut him and let him loose. They are pretty much restarting in the secondary overall. They really don't have really anybody of name, notoriety, or recognition outside of Rashawn Gary anyway. But they've always been made up of a core of nameless jerseys that kind of made up the system of their defense. I've always respected that organization, but they needed that cornerstone player. The only person that's getting the big bucks right now is Jordan Love, and now with this contract, Micah Parsons.
And that's the thing is with the I'm sorry, Brandon. But the thing is with the Packers is, the Packers, they might not have like a bunch of huge names throughout the years. They had Preston Smith and they had the other Smith, Darius Smith as well. They also had some good corners during some of that time period as well. But I think with the addition of Micah Parsons to that defense, and then plus Gary, and for some reason, the Packers get their defense right every single year. Even if they have a big name, if they have one big name, they get it right every year. And I think they hit a home run right here.
I want to propose that we give our first ever award away here on Running Through the Jungle. I'm willing to pony up a trophy here. Jerry Jones for dumbass of the offseason.
Amen.
And with that,
let's start talking some Bengals, huh? And that's a 2-year-old intro. Let's go, Mod. We got one more week before we're in game time. Get that thing done and get over here. Once again, you're tuned in to Run Through the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, here with your host, Tim Lyons and Justin Lacey. How's it going, fellas?
What it do?
We got something to talk about, man. I'm excited for the day.
Hey, we had some shit happen, huh?
What a great intro, cold open intro, talking about Micah Parsons, bro. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was some stuff. Man, should I go back to the archives on the Homies podcast and pull up some people saying that we're not going to be able to get it done. We ain't going to be able to sign them. You ain't going to have all 3 of these guys here this year,
bro.
Like, ain't nobody text me nothing,
bro. Seriously, if you were an average Cincinnati Bengals fan, you could not hear that. It's no way that you could have not heard that throughout this entire offseason, how the Bengals was not going to retain anybody. T. Higgins, he was going to go to free agency. There were so many people photoshopping his jersey and with their teams and stuff. And then when the news broke between him and Jamar signing at the same day, damn near at the same time, then all of a sudden those got acquired. Then it pivoted to Trey Henderson. Oh, well, what are you going to do about them? Your defense stinks. You ain't even trying to pay your top pass rusher. And obviously, we want to talk about Trey Henderson's contract. The Bengals retain him. And then now is how you going to protect Joe? Then the Bengals made those moves and started making that stuff happening. So don't get me wrong. There are still things regarding the Bengals front office and the organization.
Not be done.
There are stuff that regarding the Bengals front office and the organization that is still frustrating from the top to bottom. But, man, they deserve a win for this one. This was a tough offseason that they were able to overcome and get their guys back in the fold. And then add a little bit of the plus sum that I was talking about earlier in this offseason.
Yep.
Because my thing was, when I always talked about it, was this offseason for me was never going to be defined by if you brought your core 3 guys back. It was bring your 3 guys back plus some. Well, they kind of did that for real. So I got to tip my cap to them for now.
And mine was bring 2 of the 3 guys or 3 of the 3. But if you only bring back 2, get something for the third. Got 3 of them here. Even though we didn't get Trey extended, we got him happy and playing this season.
Mhm.
But the other part for me was draft well. And so far, I think they, they're showing some promise there. Tim, Trey got a raise. Where do you sit with that? How you feel about him getting his money and playing this year, and what he had to say afterwards, and what do you think it's going to be like this season?
Well, I know a couple shows ago, you asked me the question about how I felt about Trey being there at camp, even though he was holding in. And I still had that still had that feeling that this deal was going to get done. And even though we didn't get an extension, he got a raise. But he's here with the 2025 season. He's showed up, 10, 11, 12 days in practice, be able to practice with the Bengals defense, but he's been out there mentoring Shamar Stewart and the rest of the defense. So that was nice to see. I know he talked about he wanted to be a captain. That's a plus for him coaching these young players and the rest of the defense, even though he wasn't playing, he was holding in on his contract. But I've talked about this with one of our viewers, Austin Arts, on Extent yesterday, and I believe that this could be, Trey's swan song. I think this is it. This is it for him, unless he's going to go out there and bring us Reggie White, Bruce Smith numbers, after 30. Do I feel like, did the Bengals make it right? They did. They gave him more money, but they just couldn't get that longer, more years into that, into that extension. So I'm happy to have him back. I'm happy to see that he's back. He is that pass rusher that we need, along with, we got the Shamar Stewart as well, and BJ Hill and all those guys. So for them to have this, I don't know if they're going to name him captain, but I'm going to call him captain back, of the defense. Somebody, that's like Superman almost out there getting sacks, 17 and a half sacks for the last 2 years. We needed it. I know a lot of haters out there, Bengals drama queens out there, like, oh, our defense is going to suck, and we need this, we need to do that, we need to do this. You guys can coach couch all you want. We don't know what's going to actually happen behind closed doors, what's happening on those practice fields. But now, since we have Trey Hendrickson back, our sack leader, I'm ecstatic. I'm excited to see, what he's going to bring week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. So, yeah, I'm happy that it got done. I was one of those guys that was optimistic and just kept saying, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. We heard a lot of shit from a lot of other podcasters, we won't mention names, about, you guys ain't going to get this done. He's going to get traded and all this other. And Shamar Stewart's not going to sign that contract. You guys are screwing over your players and da 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 da. Well, let's put it this way: we're not the Dallas Cowboys, so I'm happy that Trey got his raise, though.
Yeah, listen, I don't think it's over with. I wouldn't be surprised if we somehow do find a deal in the offseason as well, or get another 3-year extension. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that, and we know hope is not a strategy here on Running Through the Jungle, but I'm hoping that a deal gets done during this season, and we're not dealing with, off season, is trade
or early in the off season, right?
Just
early before the draft. Before the draft, let's get something done before the draft. Is where I'm.
But other than that, like I said, I believe that if we don't get a deal done before the draft or during this season, this is Trey's swan song, and I love seeing him on the field, and we'll see what he does and make our defense better.
And Justin, I really did see, to Tim's point, his hold in when you talk about Trey Hendrickson's hold in versus Chase's hold in. last year, totally different. Chase was just walking around on a bike, not doing much. Trey was very involved. Like he was out there coaching those guys up. What are your thoughts on this one?
All right. So when I originally first saw that, it was a 1-year pay raise. Okay. Because originally I was going to say 1-year deal, but it is a deal. They came to an agreement on this particular season to get a pay increase. I was like, you wasted all this time, 6 months just to get to this point, just only to be a 1-year rental essentially for the pay extension. We knew that should have been a thing. That was the base of the agreement to begin with. But the more I kind of let it marinate and let it settle in instead of going with my immediate reaction, then the more I calmed myself down and was like, you know what? This actually is a win for both parties. I'll start with the Trey Henderson side and I'll talk about the Bengals side of this whole thing. With the Trey Hendrickson side, his main argument was never about the monetary aspect of the things. It was just about future years guaranteed, most notably guaranteed after year 2. That's the problem. The Bengals have never guaranteed anything at year 2 of an extension. So, with that being said, you signed a 1-year deal. In this particular instance, there is a no tag clause in there. And that means is that he cannot be franchise tagged after this year is up. That's not in there. He can be tagged. And the expectation is if he performs high enough to a standard like we know that Trey can, then guess what the Bengals can do? Tag him, and then again next year, and guess what that money is? It's basically a guarantee into 2026 for that 1 year. And there's your 2 years right there. The Bengals, on the other hand, just did not want to put that particularly in writing to guarantee future years beyond reasonable doubt in year 2. You can call them cheap, but the bottom line is they should have definitely been able to negotiate a little bit more in that sooner. But they do. We don't know the full crux of it, but they did offer a 3-year, $95 million deal. But how much of that was guaranteed was the question. Folks say that it was a year and a half of that guarantee for the first 2 years. And then rest was kind of like incentive-based contracts with the lower base salary. Either way it go, the Bengals have a track record of allowing their players to see through their contracts, even if it comes to the whimsical cycle of, well, he may not be exactly what it once was. The Bengals paid Trey Waynes a shit ton of money, and he was awful. They cut him after 2 years, and he got his 2 years worth of that contract, even though he did absolutely nothing for that team. So with Trey Hendrickson, I think that they're trying to learn their lessons from before, but you can't be pussyfooting around when it comes to your best player on that side of the ball, and that's Trey. But overall, I am
and
happy
also a good dude, right?
Say it
good
again.
dude. He's a good dude. He's a good locker room dude. He's a good
he's a great teammate. He's a great role model.
Yes.
He also spoke again today and even stated that his excitement is about helping him elevate the teammates around him, which I was so happy to hear him say that, because as much as I love Trey, the downside about Trey's game, and it's not indicative on him, but the downside about Trey's game, he was only playing on that one side. And how is he really elevating around the guys around him to make them better? Not necessarily, but he's still getting his numbers like he should be doing. And that's all you can ask for. But I like to hear him say that, look, I want to be there. It's like he's wearing this emblem with pride. This is why I wore this shirt today. For those that's watching us on YouTube, it's the Bengals shirt with the Bengals B logo in the breast pocket plate there. That's the same exact kind of shirt that Trey Hendrickson wore when he was pointing and talking to reporters before he even signed that 1-year agreement, I should say. And he stated that I'm still wearing this B on my shirt with pride because he loves being a Bengal. He wants to be a Bengal. And just like you, Brandon, I don't think this is over after 1 year neither. Do we like how this is going about it this way? Sure, because other guys and their best players and their star players, TJ Watts of the world and all that, got multiple years within their deal. But I think that Trey Hendrickson is getting his in a unique way. It doesn't look pretty, but he is going to get his money. And unfortunately, the Bengals are just tough to negotiate when it kind of comes to these things. I wish that they can get so much better. But you know what? It is what it is. At the end of the year, if they don't meet expectations or reach expectations, and then Trey chooses to go a different direction or just call it a career, guess what? The Bengals won't be on the hook for that. And that's also a positive sign for the organization that direction too. So I think there's not got to be a say like, oh, who really won the deal? I think nobody won the deal. I think the Bengals wanted him to sign a 3-year extension. I think the Bengals appreciated all that he's done. And I think that Trey wanted to sign that 3-year deal, but just had some money guaranteed as well too. But I think that, look, I don't even care about 2026 and 2027 right now. I'm just happy he's on the field now. Get him on the field for this season, and he's in stripes, man, and that's all I can ask for right now.
Agreed. But to your point with the extension versus they can still tag him next year, the Bengals knew they had control for 2 years. They knew that. So what's the incentive for them to guarantee money into that third year? If we're going to give you that, what are you going to give us in return? And that's all there were. To me, that's what the question was, right? We already have 2 years. We have you control for 2 years. We have control of you in contract for 2 years if we use the tag. So that's what it is. Now, I wish you would have given me the memo that you were going to, have this whole passionate thing about the shirt you're wearing. I might have switched my shirt up a little bit because whiskey made me do it. So
hey, that was off the dome, bro. I said that's the reason why I wore this shirt. But I'm gonna be honest, bro. I just saw this like, I ain't even wore this live on the air yet. So, and I just got it. It was a little bit of a other birthday treat for me as well, too, since my birthday was this past August the 13th. So happy late birthday to me, I should say.
This is a great question. And the answer is going to be no.
Let's see. Hold on. The question is for those that's listening on audio later, did the Parsons deal make Trey's franchise tag go up next year? No.
And the reason being, because it is an average, right, of the what I think top 6 contracts or whatever. But the reason why it didn't is because it wouldn't have hit, even with that going up, I don't think it would move it far enough to hit more than 120% of his salary. Yeah. He's got to also hit 120% of his salary. That's a 1-year contract thing. Yeah, he's going to get, what is it, 30. So if it's
like 34 and a half or something like that around that number next year.
It would be 36, I think, because he's at 30 now. It should be 36. But I don't know what they use on that signing bonus too. I don't know if that signing bonus that he already got, because there was $5 million in signing bonus. So technically it'd be 35. So that'd be a $7 million raise. So it could be, if that goes off the signing bonus, it could be 37 million. It was like 36 or 37 somewhere in that area.
And you know what? And they don't play the realistically. They don't truly play the same position. Micah Parsons is an edge rusher that can do it all. He also plays linebacker too. People don't remember that. He came out of Penn State like Abdul Carter in this past draft. He was kind of classified as an outside linebacker with the ability to rush the edge, and his edge rushing capabilities were just so much greater than his coverage ability that they just made him a full-time edge rusher, but with the ability to rush from both sides and up the middle, kind of like he's just so fast. So they're not even the same realistic player, but they're same impactful caliber type guys. Whereas Trey Hendrickson, he's a pure edge rusher, and you can make the argument he's the best edge rusher and like the best pure pass rusher in football because he does rush off the edge in that one particular position. Whereas now people gotta have diversified their portfolio a bit there. So that's why that number really doesn't inflate anything, if you ask me personally, because it's somewhat different players for real.
Yeah. For sure. Outside linebacker and edge. We've talked about that quite a bit. But right now we're going to go to a quick break because we're not done talking about signings. How about that? So we're excited to get back into it and talk about some more signings and some things. What do the Bengals have up their sleeves? While we go to this quick commercial break, you're going to hear from our sponsors. If you have not already, hit that thumbs up, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend about Running Through the Jungle. We'll be right back after these messages. And you are back with Running Through the Jungle. Trey Hendrickson has gotten his money, but there was still enough left over to do a deal to bring a right guard to Cincinnati. Man, that sounds good, doesn't it? That sounds good. Tim, what was your first reaction when you seen Dalton Risner signing with the Cincinnati Bengals?
I didn't see it until it broke on the Running Through the Jungle chat that Risner signed with Cincinnati Bengals. I was like, "Where's this coming from?" And Brandon sent us a thing in our chat for our group, and I was like, "Wow, no crap!" And I was looking at it and I was like, oh, it says in there that he hasn't allowed a sack in the last 2 seasons, 23 and 24 seasons. I was like, bet. I know he came last week. I knew he came last week, and there were so many rumors that he was going to go to the Saints and work out for them, and go to Pittsburgh and go work out for them, and all this other stuff. But you know what's funny is this? So I was watching Reisner's little press conference they did with him in the locker room. That dude, he's a great dude. Listen to him talk and all that stuff. He's like, I know you guys are asking me all these questions, and I know I'm going to get fined sometime, whatever. And he's talking about that. And, but they asked him a question of, did you go, or it was like something about asking if he went over to go talk to any other teams. He's like, well, there was chatters and there was other options. And of course he goes, of course I'm going to weigh my options, but Cincinnati is where I want to be. Cincinnati was where I wanted to be for like the last, I think like you said, like 3 weeks or something like that, because I really wanted to come to Cincinnati. And, he was like, oh, what is it? Houday or something like that. The Houday Nation. Am I saying that right? And, he played for Denver and he played for the Vikings, so he knew Noah Fant, but other than that, he didn't really know our offensive line. But I'm excited to have him, if they can get him on page, get him on the right track. I'd love to see him in there week 1 versus the Browns, but, there's a 50-50 chance that he might and he might not be a starter for week 1 against the Browns because, it's 10 days until the season. But other than that, I'm like excited that we have a real guard, real solid, promising. No, I'll put it this way, that we have a promising guard that we signed to help protect Joe. And I know everybody, I remember throughout this whole off season, everybody's been yelling, we need to go get a guard. We need to get a guard. And I'm like, who's out there and everything like that. And then Dalton Reisner came into conversation a couple weeks ago, and I'm excited to see him here in Cincinnati. I hope he, gets that playbook down and is able to protect Joe and allow him some more time, give Chase Brown a hole to run through or any of our running backs to run through. But protecting Joe is the biggest thing, and that's our money right there. We need to protect it.
I got a kick out of the fact that he was talking about getting fined wearing a hat said God is good. KP from KC5, another great comment here. He said Reisner raised the floor of the line. Now Rivers can grow into the position. I agree with you 1,000%. Now listen, I don't expect him to be clean this year and have 0 sacks given up. And I'm going to tell you the reason why is because we run a different offense than he's been in. Right? There's going to be more shotgun. There's going to be more true passing downs. There's going to be a lot more times when you just know the Bengals are throwing the ball than what he did, especially in Minnesota. There was a lot of play action and stuff there. Now, I think the Bengals would love to mix more of that in, but he's still going to be on an island a little bit more than he has the past couple of years. So I don't expect him to be 100% as far as not giving up sacks, but I do believe this is an upgrade. I do believe the Bengals are out there trying to get things done. They've had tough signings that we've very publicly talked about, and contracts they had to get done, and extensions they had to get done, and raises they had to get done. All in the meantime, still working on getting some of these other guys, signed and in the door to help out the team. Your take on this Dalton Reisner signing there, Justin?
Number one, I'm going to start off by saying I'm just so incredibly happy for Dalton Reisner. This is a guy that has been kind of sitting out there in free agency throughout the whole entirety of the offseason. I'm sure that him and his wife, who is great and is absolutely enthusiastic on Bengals Twitter right now, it's like she's fully embraced the Bengals community. I'm sure that they've had discussions about, like, what if this is it for me? And those conversations probably are not always easy. Obviously, the league is going to tell you where you are, and sometimes it's not always going to be your decision whether or not if you should call it up or call it a career or not. But he was out there. He showed faith. He showed belief, and I'm just really happy that he gets another opportunity to come and play on a better team. Don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with what the Vikings did last year, but Sam Darnold ain't Joe Burrow. And I know they had a better record than us last year, but you already kind of saw the one and done playoffs come. You saw that coming last year from them. Whereas with Joe Burrow, you got a chance to win a Super Bowl.
Boy, fading them late in the year was fun.
And I'm just happy for him. You know what I mean? So that's first and foremost what I'll say. And thank God that, he's also here too, because the Bengals are lucky that he was still out there. Guys like Brandon Sheriff decided to hang it up. Will Hernandez got plucked by somewhere else. And there was other guys that got signed before Dalton Risner that you forgot that it was even still out there that was brought in. It's like, so then they got to start thinking like, well, is Dalton Risner, is he past his prime, or he not just past prime, but is he really a backup guard nowadays in his career? We might not know that until we actually get him on the field and see him play. But you're absolutely right. And I do love KP from KC's comment that you highlighted earlier, because I was going to make the exact same statement in a similar way. He does absolutely raises the floor, and he makes the offensive line complete as a whole with just his presence by itself. Now you got two guards that you feel really good about. Then one of them doesn't include Lucas Patrick. Jalen Rivers doesn't have to be thrusted out there as a rookie fifth rounder when you just don't know if he's ready or not. You have a competent center and a veteran presence at center with Ted Karras, and your two tackles we always knew were good. They just haven't really accelerated yet because of pitfalls around other positions on that group. We're not hinging on banking on hope. Now I feel like when we think about this whole offensive line as a whole, and tip the cap to Duke Tobin and company of just saying, look, we're not done investing in this position. They could have very well sold us with the very same statement of, well, we like the guys that we have. No, you don't. Stop saying that. Okay. You had injuries at this position. Lucas Patrick was hurt beginning of camp. Then you got guys like Cordell Volson, who's going to miss the entirety of the season. Okay. But that was also your calling card to be like, yeah, you got to get somebody in here, because the Jackson Kirtlands of the world, the Andrew Cokers of the world, that's not cutting it. And then Cody Ford, yes, while he has the ability to play guard here and there, I don't want him playing guard as a starter. Okay. He is just coming out. He is a guy that I can put on the bench to be a swing tackle if he needs to give other guys a break or something. I don't need him in my starting lineup. Dalton Risner, on the other hand, I do need him in my starting lineup. So with that being said, while it sucks that he was signed so late in the year, I don't care. But this signing, along with the Noah Fant signing, was the two signings that I think that brought the fans was like, you know what? Yes, it was ugly this offseason early on where we felt like the Bengals didn't do enough, but this was the plus sum of the signing that I mentioned sooner that I was glad to see them actually do. And now we just got to see it come to fruition this season, starting week 1 against Cleveland. All right. It's not going to be no walk in the park for the Bengals because they notoriously struggled up there. But overall, man, I'm just so happy to see a guy like Risner get his opportunity, especially here in Cincinnati. I think that he's going to fit in this blue collar like town. And I think that he's going to do some good things along that offensive line group.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I upgrade. There's no other way to say it. It was the most necessary upgrade, the most glaring upgrade that we needed, in my opinion, on our team. Even with the defense being, as a question mark for everybody, I think this was still more of a glaring need. All right, we're going to talk about some 53-man roster moves, and we hit some of the nails on the head here. I don't know if there wasn't too much that surprised me. I think a lot of people probably had Seth McLaughlin as one of the people that were not going to be on that wave list. I don't know. Did he get hidden on the practice squad? I don't remember seeing him.
That's a good question. I don't remember right off the bat. I think that as we talk about the 53 roster, I can actually look that up to confirm that. Or somebody in the chat, if you want to confirm if Seth McLaughlin is brought back on the practice squad, that would be great. Like I said, I think he was, but I'm not 100% too sure right now at this very second off the top
time that we've let Kendrick Pryor has been let go. Last time he went to the practice squad, and he ended up in Jacksonville. I think the guy is KP says that Seth is on the practice squad.
Cool.
I think listen, Kendrick Pryor out of Wisconsin. I think he's a good wide receiver, a quality wide receiver. I've always kind of rooted for him. But Mitchell Tinsley, I mean, the man looked good this year and had a lot of chatter about him. So nothing you can say there. I think we hit the nail on the head with the linebackers. I think Shaka Hayward on, and our boy Meta gone.
Well, Muma Jalmeta is on the practice squad too, and now I did also confirm too. Thanks to KP, so for confirming that he is on the practice squad. Yeah, the Bengals got 14 guys, and Muma is back on there. So he did clear waivers, and they was able to stash him. But it ain't going to stop any of these guys from being plucked onto somebody else's team.
Yeah.
So, but like none of the guys outside of maybe linebacker Joe Giles Harris, I thought that he sort of outplayed Muma a little bit. I thought he was good enough to make the 53, but he's a veteran guy. I don't think a lot of people are going to be really looking for him for real. And I think that he's a guy that, you know what, sure, let's bring him in here. And if we need to elevate him when injuries happen, we can do that. He's a veteran guy. He kind of knows the deal.
Yeah, I was also Cal Adamitis is gone for the first time in quite some time.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I don't know. Desmond Ridder, I know a lot of people locally were rooting for him. I don't think Cordell Volson really surprised anybody.
Yeah.
With his injuries and play over the last couple of years. One of the guys that went to the injured list that I didn't want to see was Cedric Johnson with a calf strain. He'll be coming back, but he's going to be returning. But I think he's a guy that I saw a couple flashes from last season. I'd really like to see him get out there and get more playing time. But I will say I don't know. You probably didn't catch it last week on the homies, Justin. You'll get a kick out of this. Tate, in his infinite wisdom, gave each of us a player and said, "Here's somebody that's on the bubble. Tell me what you think of them." He gave me Jackson Kirkland, and I said, "Cut, trash." And he said, "Why are you gonna?" I said, "Why do you say that so quickly that you're gonna cut him?" And I said, "Because he's a traffic cone." But cut him. See you next. I mean, that's it. We don't need to stay on this. We don't need to talk about it. He gone. I was like, you should pick him up.
He'd make a great Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, man. Get him over there. They're bad. But anything else that any surprises or anything that stuck out to you with the 53-man roster?
Nah, I was, I think it was pretty on point. I'm glad they brought Milton back though as a practice squad on the running back side. He showed some fire during the
good
preseason.
Flashes, yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice to see.
But
Seth
you just
McLaughlin,
never know how good that is because he's playing against third and fourth stringers. You know what I mean? That's a
Right,
catch-22.
Yeah, but what if P. Ryan goes down or something? Who knows? He'd be a good piece to have in there. He seems like a very strong runner. He's a bulldozer out there, and I think
I root for Drew Sample to get cut. He didn't.
Yeah, Drew Sample, that ain't gonna happen. Who of the tight end didn't we lose?
McLaughlin.
Tanner McLaughlin.
Tanner McLaughlin.
Oh, the rookie that we drafted last year.
Yeah, second year out of Arizona. Yeah, came into the league injured.
That's right. Yeah. Other than that, I'm happy with this 50. I'm glad to see Joe Burrow made the 53-man roster. That was exciting to see. Joe Burrow. He deserves to be on that 53-man roster.
I wonder if anybody ever jokes with him, like calls him up and tells him he's turned in his playbook.
Oh, I would. I'd mess with him all the time. Every offseason, I'd be messing with him. But then he'd expect it. So
the most exciting news to me after the 53-man roster, after the raise for Trey, after the signing of Dalton Reisner, I immediately go to Sport Track. And I'm like, all right, let's do some capology. What we got left? What we got going on? Because it's being reported that very little of that, the way it got paid out of Trey's deal, went towards the cap.
Right.
The Bengals are third best in the league in dead cap with only $11 million in dead cap right now. That's helped them a ton with situating and moving around some of this, the money with signing all these guys. As it sits right now, they still have $18 million left.
Mm.
That means they ain't done. They ain't done. And somebody out there in free agency has been hinting to Mr. Ocho Cinco that he might be wanting to become a Bengal. I'd like safety help. I don't know if you would, but I think Justin Simmons would look good in stripes.
Yep, I agree.
I'd take him in a heartbeat. I think we have some good young pieces, but I just don't think it's quite there. You know what I mean? I think we got, to me, our safety room has good depth and not quite good starting positions, right? We have a lot of really good backups in my mind.
Yeah.
But $18 million, man, we're still 14th in the league in cap money left with all that we've done.
So I'll say this too. Because I didn't even give my brief synopsis because I was actually going to talk about the safety position when it came to the 53-man roster breakdown part. I'm happy a guy like PJ Jules made it. I think that he worked his ass off during the preseason. He looked somewhat good during the preseason finale, but again, none of these guys I don't feel good about long term. I don't feel good about Geno Stone and Jordan Battle as my 1-2 punch starter. But if you add a guy like a Justin Simmons to the mix, then that will make me feel so much better about where this thing can go. And quite frankly, to me, that's the final domino to make it seem like, okay, now it's been an A+ offseason for the Bengals. And what has been the most complicated and most important offseason, if they were able to somehow get a workout scheduled with him, have him fly into Cincy and strike a deal, not saying before week 1, even though you got probably a week before it can happen, a week from Sunday, I should say. Yeah, that will be the absolute dream for me because I think that he is really one of the better players left in free agency. I think that you're not going to ask really a ton of them because you still are going to have guys like Jordan Battle and Geno Stone taking snaps, majority of the snaps. He's a veteran. He's in his early 30s. Who knows if his best days are still there or behind him or whatnot, but I don't think that matters in my opinion because I think that he's a guy that's itching to join a contender, and he has mentioned on the Kay Adams show in the past where a team like Cincinnati will bode well for him. And so, yeah, the murmurs of Justin Simmons potentially joining Cincy is all really just mutual interest right now. Well, I wouldn't say mutual interest coming from the Bengals side, but it's all interest coming from Justin Simmons' camp. It started with Chad Johnson. He put out a tweet out there. Ocho Cinco, he put out a tweet out there talking about, hey, if you are interested in trying Skyline Chili, I know a place. And Justin Simmons retweeted, obviously saying that, hey, I've been wanting to try and whatnot. And then Chad then retweeted that and tagged the Bengals, said, Bengals, I did my part. Now it's up to you. And so everybody in the fan base is just kind of going crazy, like, let's get Justin Simmons on the plane. Let's do this. Like I said, it will be a feel-good signing for me as well, too, just because, like, it's a veteran guy. He's not going to cost a ton. He's been sitting out here waiting for an opportunity, kind of like Dalton Reisner. And I just think that you just got to just do it if you're the Bengals.
Well,
you cannot look at that safety room and think like, okay, we can roll with this out here. Not with this high-flying offense when you know that other teams are going to throw on your defense in your secondary. You need a veteran out there that can do that. That's not Von Bell, by the way, okay?
Yeah.
This is not like a Von Bell re-signing.
And you're right. I don't think he's going to take half of what we have left. It still gives us
Absolutely
room. That still gives us room if something happens during the season and we need to go, sign somebody off the streets.
But how much?
I don't mind. I don't mind if he doesn't week 3, week 4.
Yeah.
That's where I need him. Right.
Right.
I don't need him against the Jaguars. I don't need him against the Browns. Maybe Minnesota. Maybe that following week 4 on Monday Night Football.
Low risk, high reward.
We're good. Get out there. We got the Broncos. Then we got the Lions and the Packers. Like, I want him for that stretch, ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Tim? We signing him?
It's all a Christmas wish list right now. I don't know. It's hard to it's hard to really bring it to reality. I know, Ocho's a character guy. We all love Ocho. We loved Ocho when he was with Cincinnati. We still love Ocho. He's a great dude. For it to become true, I need to see Justin Simmons is on a plane to Cincinnati to work out for us. My fear, though, is he wants more money than what the Cincinnati Bengals are willing to give him. I think he saved the Broncos. What did he save him, like $13 million or whatever, by them cutting him or releasing him, whatever the hell it was. I would love to see Justin Simmons. We do. You guys are right, 100% right. We need safeties. We need more safeties. Better safeties. Geno Stone, he made up for it in the last part of the season last year. Jordan Battle, dealing with that injury, dealt with that injury and stuff, and I just feel like Jordan Battle's. I don't know. I'm just to this point where with Jordan Battle, he's a great backup. I just don't. And like you said, we have a lot of backup. I think we have some good backups. We have a lot of depth in backups, but for us to get this Justin Simmons done deal, definitely, I think that would bring us over. Give us an A+ off season. It would make this whole off season just go okay. We're already at an A. Let's get an A+ with bringing in a guy like Justin Simmons. I still feel like, maybe we need to bring in a veteran corner, somebody that can go in there and influence and help, Cam Taylor, Britt, and DJ Ivy and DJ Turner. And, we still need that piece that I believe in. But I would, like I said, Justin Simmons, I've watched him play for the last, I think he's playing in the league for 8 years, 9 years now, whatever. He's a good ball player. He always has. He's always been a good ball player,
High football IQ.
Yeah, I think he was originally drafted by the Cardinals, right? Am I correct on that? I think it was the Cardinals. I can't remember. No, was it the Broncos?
I don't know.
I can't remember where now.
Asking for a friend though, if you had the 5th overall pick in a fantasy football draft, who would you be eyeballing? Asking for a friend. I definitely would not 2 weeks in a row have a 9:00 start for a fantasy draft on a Thursday night. That'd be crazy talk.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, yeah, Justin Simmons, let's get it done. Let me just get it done with, because that's what Brandon's talking about right now.
Well,
I have a fantasy
Justin
draft tomorrow.
Jefferson. Good. That's good, Tim. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Let's do all eyeball.
There you go.
All right. Yeah, so let me make this pick number 5 here shortly, and then no, I'm kidding. It is Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb.
Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
It's got to be what it is, right?
Then again, the offense of the Cowboys, I'm not giving up on them because they do have George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, and
I might try to take Pickens later. We'll do that. All right, that's enough of that. I got like 15 picks more until I'm back. All right, let's do some closing remarks. Justin, what you got for closing comments?
I am looking forward to giving breakdown analysis for week 1 against the Cleveland Browns. And I cannot wait till we discuss that on our next show before we give our preview of Running Through the Jungle to discuss the week 1 matchup against the Cleveland Browns. It is an opportunity to right the wrong from the opener of the 2023 week 1 regular season when the Bengals stunk up the joint in the rain and lost 24-3. I think the Bengals early indications they can just get out to a hot start by going there and curb stomping the Cleveland Browns, right the wrong from 2 years ago's opener, and then let's go ahead and kick this thing off the right way. So that's my closing remark for today's show.
I dig it. Tim, what you got? Closing remarks.
Well, I'm a guy, guys. I'm gonna give you guys a little insight here. So on week 1, we are doing Strange Love, right, Brandon? We still got Strange Love scheduled. That hasn't changed. We have Noah Olson from the At the Office, the Cincinnati the Cleveland Browns podcast. He's going to go
live on Thursday. Is when we're
going to record it, and then it'll go live. And then
we're going to record it, and then it'll air on Thursday.
It'll premiere on Thursday. And then the second week we play the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I have my friend coming to the show. He's a drummer. in a band back in the 90s, 2000s. John Otto from Limp Bizkit will be here as our Jacksonville Jaguars representative for Strange Love as well. We'll be doing that episode, recording, and then it'll go premiere on YouTube and all that podcast world. Other than that, like, subscribe, share with your friends. Share with your friends, people. I want to see. I have like Brandon and I have had many discussions about this podcast, and I want to see our numbers double on YouTube. I want to see our subscribers double on YouTube. I know we're not, these other fancy dancy Bengals podcast out there with James Rapine and all those guys and all this other stuff, but share with your friends. Just share us. It's just that button on there that says share. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit the alert button. Have a safe Labor Day weekend, and you guys take care. Hoo day.
Gotta love it. Yeah, so I think where we're going to be at, if I'm not mistaken, Tim, your show will air on Tuesday. Running Through the Jungle will be live on Wednesday starting next week. Hater will be live on Wednesday starting next week. Then we'll have Thursday is when we're going to plan on airing the Strange Love, or maybe something else named. We'll see. Got to figure that out. And then we'll also have our recap, right? The recap is going to be a little fluid. We love it when it's a Sunday day game, because then we do the recap before the night game. Everybody kind of easy to listen to and easy to get there. But hey, I mean, it's kind of fun having Monday night, Thursday night games too, and whatnot. But we'll get those out there. So keep an eye on those. The Roaring recap and the coaches' cliff notes. Ugh, I gotta watch the coaches' cliff notes again. So make sure you check us out with those. Like us, subscribe, share us, tag a friend that you think will like us. Tell a friend to tell a friend about us. And we'll catch you here next Wednesday as we got football to talk about and preview with you as we are running through the jungle.